Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this video, you made it to round 2 of the fantasy football playoffs. So all we need to continue to do is set our starting lineup correctly. How hard can that be unless we have a couple horrible matchups this week? We got Dallas, Philadelphia playing against each other. I mean, we are going up against the freaking New England Patriots for Joe Mixon. Got a decent amount to talk about, but before we get into any of it, make sure you go down there, drop a like on this video. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section. And if you want to check out any of these player props, if you want to get in a draft with us on the live stream, you can find the link to Underdog Fantasy in the description of this video in the comment section. When you sign up for Underdog with promo code FLOCK, gonna be pretty much free for you to check out because they'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $200 and available in damn near every state. But I think that should be it. Let's go through. Let's dive into these RBs. Starting off tier 1. Usually we don't have Derrick Henry at 1 because in a full PPR format, he's not going to catch the ball as much as you may have some other guys. But hell, he was the leading receiver for the Tennessee Titans last week. And he gets to play the Houston Texans this week, where the Tennessee Titans are 7-point favorites. A lot of people were very excited about Isaiah Pacheco a week ago, but ends up Jarrett McKinnon is scoring all the fantasy points against Houston. Regardless, running backs score points against the Houston Texans. It should be a great game environment for Derrick Henry. I think it's easy to put him at 1. And then at 2, we are going to be going with Austin Eckler, who at this point is technically the running back 1 from a fantasy points per game perspective in a full PPR league. Right now, the Chargers are favored by only 3.5 to 4 points based on the sports book that you're looking at. Honestly, I kind of figured the Chargers would be favored a little bit more here based on the debacle that you had from the Indianapolis Colts a week ago. I mean, Dalvin Cook had a great week, and the Indianapolis Colts have had a soft run defense all year. And then at 3, we are going to be going with a Mr. Josh Jacobs as 3-point road dogs going up against Pittsburgh. May not necessarily be the best game environment for the Raiders to run the ball over and over and over again, but a much better matchup than he had a week ago going up against the New England Patriots. You know, we've had Josh Jacobs as that tier 1 running back. I mean, my most drafted player in fantasy. We ranked him lower than usual last week, but that was because it was a very tough matchup against New England. Now our next guy is going to be Christian McCaffrey going up against Washington. With CMC, you don't love the matchup. It doesn't really matter if Washington has a good front 7, though, because the 49ers will be winning this game. They're 7-point favorites, and CMC's number 1 trait is he is involved as that pass catcher out of the backfield. If Deebo Samuel were to miss again this week, then CMC probably would bump up, definitely ahead of Jacobs, maybe ahead of Eckler. Now, dropping down to our next tier, we're going to be going with Saquon Barkley at 5, playing the Minnesota Vikings. With Saquon Barkley, I mean, it is just so hit or miss. You know, he has all the ceiling in the world. He does have a pretty low floor, but you do know in that full PPR format, he will be involved as a pass catcher. And then at 6, we're going to be rolling with Ramondre Stevenson at home against Cincinnati. With Ramondre, I don't really care about the matchup because the man's dominant. The man looks like, I don't want to say prime Alvin Kamara, but pretty damn close to it. He leads the New England Patriots in receiving more weeks than not. And I mean, hell, he was very good this past week. And then going to 7, we are going to be looking at Dalvin Cook, favored by 3.5 points against the New York Giants. I mean, Minnesota obviously has just a horrendous defense, but their offense can put points up at will. Now, dropping down to our next tier, we're going to be going with Kenneth Walker going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, you don't love the game environment playing the Chiefs here, where we assume that the Seattle Seahawks are going to be playing from behind. I mean, if we are going to be looking at this right now, you actually have the Kansas City Chiefs as 9.5-point favorites. Not that good of a spot if we were wanting Kenneth Walker to have a ridiculous workload. And then at 9, we're going to be going with Nick Chubb. Don't love the matchup going up against New Orleans, but hell, I mean, Tyler Algier, Cordell Patterson just combined for 1 million points with Nick Chubb. He's been significantly worse as of late, where this offense really just has been very disappointing with Deshaun Watson. I thought Deshaun Watson was going to come in and almost immediately be an elite level quarterback. I was for sure thinking Deshaun Watson was going to be a massive upgrade over Jacoby Brissett. And up until this point, we've been flat out wrong. And then at 10, we are going to be going with James Conner. I would love to have Conner higher than this. I mean, if you're looking at the pure workload, the fact that he gets, a ton of targets out of the backfield, he gets almost every touch in the red zone. Hell, he gets every touch out of this backfield. It's a tough matchup going up against Tampa, however, and also looks like they're potentially going to be on their 3rd string quarterback. For this reason, you actually have the Arizona Cardinals at home as 4.5-point dogs. I think this will be a very bad offense. And now going over to 11, we're going to have Aaron Jones. I am recording this right before the Monday night game against the Rams. So if Aaron Jones drops 40 points, we may be moving him up. If he drops 4 points, we may be moving him down. We'll continue to monitor this situation and, of course, give you updates later in the week. But going over to 12, we're going to be looking at Joe Mixon against the New England Patriots. Hell, people were worried about Samaje Perine maintaining a large role after he was very impressive in the absence of Joe Mixon. And of course, Mason the idiot, Mason the clown came out and said, oh no, don't worry. Last time we saw Joe Mixon, he scored 5 touchdowns in a game. He's still going to be used as that 3-down bell cow. Well, that hasn't happened. They're using a 3-man running back by committee. They're throwing the ball over and over and over again. And it's a tough matchup for Joe Mixon going up against the New England Patriots. Obviously, Cincinnati has an elite offense, though. And then going over to 13, we're going to be looking at Miles Sanders in a tough matchup against the Dallas Cowboys. I know Sanders took a step back this past week. I don't really care. I think if you're looking at this Philadelphia Eagles offense, one thing is for certain. They're going to score a lot of points. They are going to be putting points up at will. I think this Dallas and Philadelphia game is going to be a shootout. With Miles Sanders, we don't know if the Eagles are going to be putting points up through the air, on the ground. I just want him in my lineup. And then going over to 14, we are going to have Alvin Kamara. You thought, at least I thought he was going to smash against the Atlanta Falcons a week ago with no Mark Ingram in a great matchup. Hell, they are not using him as much as you would like to see as a pass catcher, and you still have Taysom Hill getting involved, stealing touchdowns in this offense. 15, we are going to be having Travis Etienne. With Etienne, we told everybody to start him last week. He goes over 100 total yards, but he doesn't score a touchdown, so it's not like it's a phenomenal performance. I just still want to say, if Travis Etienne is seeing 90% of the snaps in this backfield, which he would have last week, but he left the game just for a small stretch with an injury. If he's still seeing 90% of those snaps in this backfield in what looks to be a very, very good offense, he's still someone you have to play, even if it's a toughish matchup going up against the Jets. And then at 16, we're going to be rolling with Tony Pollard against Philadelphia. Like we said, I think there are a lot of points scored in this Dallas-Philly game. I'm going to be a little more excited about Miles Sanders, however, because he's going to have a larger percentage of his own backfield compared to Tony Pollard splitting with Ezekiel Elliott. Obviously, still in the same tier, though. Now, dropping down to our next tier, we're going to be going with J.K. Dobbins against the Atlanta Falcons. Phenomenal matchup and in a great matchup last week against the Cleveland Browns. J.K. Dobbins was very good. Now, of course, he's still operating in a running back by committee, though, so it's difficult to go out there and rank him as that true running back one. I think you really just want to see Lamar Jackson back in. Right now you have the Ravens favored by 7 points in this game. So I think Vegas is telling us that Lamar is probably going to play. And then at 18 and 19, we're going to be going with 2 running backs that kind of look the same in my opinion. We're going to go Najee Harris, David Montgomery. They are the cheap discount Walmart version of bell cow running backs. I think that's a safe assessment. They are going to get evolved a little bit as a pass catcher. They're in horrible offenses. However, if they were in better systems, better offenses, I think you could be a little more excited, but kind of is what it is. We're going to go Najee over Montgomery because Montgomery does have a tough matchup going up against Buffalo, where Buffalo, I figured they would be favored by almost 14 points in this game, but it is 8.5 or 9. Now going over to 20, we are going to be looking at Leonard Fournette, who played the majority of the snaps over Rachaad White this past week, but they split the touches damn near 50-50. Now, Leonard Fournette looks like he's going to draw a few more targets out of the backfield. Fournette was really in there once the game got out of hand and they were having to go out and drop back to pass. Remember, the Bucs led this game pretty much until the second half, and in that second half, that's when Fournette came on, but it's a good matchup going up against Arizona, where our next guy in Latavius Murray dominated a week ago. Now, with Latavius, obviously, we're going to have to monitor the health of someone like Mike Boone in this backfield. They have Marlon Mack. They have a couple names trying to turn this into a running back by committee, but clearly the Denver Broncos, if they get the opportunity to, they want to run the ball. Denver does not want to throw it, and they actually may get the opportunity to run when they travel to Los Angeles to play the Rams, where right now they are favored by about a point or a point and a half. And then at 22, we're going to be rolling with DeAndre Swift. I don't know what to do, ladies and gentlemen. He played the most snaps in Detroit this past week. And if it was just DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams splitting this backfield in a good matchup against Carolina, I would move him up. But there's a little thorn in the side. There's a little leech. There's a little tick, whatever you want to call him. And it's probably rude for me to do so. Named Justin Jackson. Where Justin Jackson is siphoning off some of these snaps, siphoning off some of these touches from both DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, where it's almost turning into a pseudo three-man running back by committee. And then at 23, we're going to be going with Zeke Elliott, sliding him in here. I definitely prefer Pollard over Zeke, knowing that Zeke's not really going to get targeted out of the backfield too often. And while right now you actually have the Dallas Cowboys favored in this game by about 3 to 2.5 points, I don't know how the hell that's the case. I still think Philly probably wins it. Now going over to 25, we're going to be going with Raheem Mostert. This is a running back that can 100% move up these rankings. But we are going to need to know the status of Jeff Wilson. If Jeff Wilson is to be out, then 100% move Raheem Mostert up. Probably goes up to the Dobbins tier, probably around running back 19, running back 18. But I'm going to be operating under the assumption that Jeff Wilson comes back in, turns this back into a running back by committee, and we'll have him ranked here. Now, 26, we're going to be going with Bam Knight, a running back that we ranked, I believe, is running back 25, 26 last week, but I got scared because Underdog had the line for him at 81.5 total yards, and I was like, okay, well, what am I missing here? Well, it's back-to-back weeks now for Bam Knight where Michael Carter actually plays more snaps. Now, of course, I'm ranking Bam Knight over Michael Carter because Bam Knight's the guy getting the volume. Bam Knight's the guy getting the touches out of the backfield. But, I mean, I'm assuming that Mike White does not play. If Mike White doesn't play and you have Zach Wilson in here, not going to be a great offense. I don't think Bam Knight's a great running back, and he's split in the backfield. But now at 27, we are going to be going Jerick McKinnon. I told people to bench Jerick McKinnon last week because I thought the Kansas City Chiefs were going to boat race the Houston Texans, and I was completely wrong. I'm kind of trying to say the same thing here with them going up against Seattle as 9.5, 10-point favorites. I don't really know what's going to happen. Obviously, McKinnon's getting every target out of this backfield. McKinnon played more snaps than Pacheco this past week. McKinnon probably should be higher than this. I'm going to continue to think about this week. I would love to know your opinion in the comment section, as honestly, we should have to probably move him up. And then at 28, we're going to have Rachaad White. With Rachaad White, I mean, he played fewer snaps than Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette just coming back from that injury that he suffered back in the London game against Arizona. I think is a viable play, but more so as a high-end RB3. If you're in the fantasy football playoffs at this point, don't think you should be looking to start too many of these guys. And then at 29, we're going to go Devin Singletary. You have James Cook. You have Nyheim Hines getting the touchdowns this past week. You have Singletary still seeing the most snaps. I mean, it's a three-man running back by committee. Even if it's an elite level offense, it's hard to get too excited. And then at 30, we're going to have Isaiah Pacheco. Maybe it's a better game environment for Isaiah Pacheco going up against the Seattle Seahawks, as we just referenced with Jerick McKinnon. I'd assume the Chiefs just roll them, even though the Chiefs did disappoint this past week. And then some players that are on the outside looking in for one reason or another. I know we're going to get a lot of questions about these guys. Tyler Algier and Cordell Patterson both split the backfield damn near 50-50 this past week for the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, they both were productive running backs, so I know a lot of people are going to want to run out there and start them right away. But I'm looking at this matchup going up against the Baltimore Ravens, where Desmond Ridder looked like garbage. You're 7-point favorites in Baltimore in a very tough matchup. So I don't want to be playing a 50-50 back where we don't really know where the volume is going to be going if you have one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL leading your offense in a very tough matchup. And then with Washington, I mean, yes, Brian Robinson looks pretty damn good. Yes, blah, blah, blah. But my main issue with this is going to be you're going up against the 49ers. It does not matter who you are. It does not matter what offense you're playing in. This is the toughest matchup in the NFL. If you're in a committee, I just want nothing to do with you. I'm avoiding this 49ers defense if we can. Right now, San Fran's 7.5-point favorites over Washington. And then our last guy, I know people are going to have questions with, Cam Akers. Don't know what's happening on Monday night. I think it's a good matchup against Green Bay Packers, but Akers doesn't catch the ball out of the backfield. Should be a very bad Los Angeles Rams offense. Tough matchup against Denver. If Akers has himself a day, if Kyren Williams is removed from this offense, of course, we'll be updating this later in the week, moving Cam Akers up. But I think that's all I got for you. Of course, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, go down there, drop a like. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. If you want to check out any of these player props, link in the comment section, link in the description. Promo code FLOCK. Underdog will match your first deposit, dollar for dollar, up to $200. But thank you again. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day, and I'll be good to see you in the live stream tonight.